What's going on, everybody? It is Christmas Eve. Yes, that's right. Or about to be Christmas Eve. It's not the Eve yet, but we're about to get there. Welcome to Pushing the Limits. I am Brian Shapiro. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you all being here on the Occupy Democrats Network, on the Washington Press Network, of course, my personal YouTube page, at PTL Radio Show. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We are everywhere. And, this time of the year is a time where, you got to be grateful for what you have, family, friends. And coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to be having conservative MAGA Republican podcaster David Pollock joining us. So he'll be joining us here in just a few minutes. And David has agreed to take phone calls today. So that's going to be interesting. We've always had people call and be like, I want to talk to David. So now's going to be your opportunity today to do so. Quickly, I just want to say, this time of the year, Christmas, New Year's, spend time with family, spend time with friends. I am very grateful. I keep saying I've had a 20-year radio career. It's actually 22 years. I'm really old. I'm 44 years old. I got into the radio business very early. And this is probably the happiest I've ever been in this business. And I don't take that for granted. There's a lot of people that go to work every day, unfortunately, that don't enjoy their jobs. Maybe you don't like your boss. Maybe you don't like your colleagues. So I certainly don't take that for granted. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I love the people that I work with here, and I'm able to do the type of show that I want to do, and nobody tells me what I can or can't say. And trust me, I do not take that for granted. I never will. And I enjoy doing this every day. And I love our listenership and the people that call in and people that listen. And I spoke to a few listeners earlier today, and I'm very grateful. So around this time of the year, I think it's important to be thankful for what you have. And trust me, I know it. There's a lot of people that work every day that don't love their jobs. And I feel for them. I do. But to be able to drive to work every day and enjoy what I do is something that I will never take for granted. And I'm very grateful to all of you. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for helping me and listening to the show and supporting what I do. It means the world to me, and I really appreciate it. And I really do mean that. I've had some jobs in radio that I didn't enjoy very much. I've had to work with some people that, thank God, I don't have to work with them anymore. And I'm just very grateful. So I wanted to start off by saying that. All right. So before we announce the guest coming on, David Pollock, I did want to play you a little excerpt of his podcast yesterday where he's talking about Matt Gaetz, and then we'll discuss it with him. So this is David talking about Matt Gaetz, making the case that a lot of people have done the same things that maybe Matt Gaetz have done. Have a listen to this.
Through the grapevine, that now, since the behavior in the private lives of some of our representatives is fair game, new damning reports and evidence is going to start being released about other members of Congress, because the worst kept secret in Washington, according to our good friend George Santos, is that the things that they're claiming Matt Gaetz is a bad guy for doing, everybody does and worse up there. And guess what? People have the receipts.
Okay, so obviously I disagree with that, but joining us right now to talk about that is that man himself. Of course, I'm talking about David Pollock from the David Pollock podcast, joining us right now on the show. David, it is good to see you, my friend. Always a professional looking studio. I have to work on that, by the way.
Yeah. So you have to drive to your studio. My commute is about 15 steps. I don't even have to wear pants.
Very jealous. Yeah. I'm very jealous of you for that. Thank you so much for joining us. By the way, David has agreed to take some phone calls in the next segment. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to call in and talk to you, David, and always appreciate you being here. All right. So that sound clip that I played was about Matt Gaetz, and you had made the case. Now, you had said everyone has done the same or worse. I don't think you actually believe that, right?
Yeah, no, maybe when I say everyone, I was just speaking generally. I don't think everyone. I think there's probably some good people maybe in Washington. But by that, I meant this was clearly a hit. Again, it was like a parting gift from Kevin McCarthy. Like, okay, I might have lost my seat, but you're going to lose yours. And that was sort of what I think this was. I think the problem with this, and this is what I meant, is there's a lot of skeletons in Washington, D.C. I think somebody said to the tune of like $17 million has been paid to keep people quiet, like over the last few years in Washington. This is not a very well-kept secret in the Beltway. A lot of members do a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing. And I don't know. Some members, let me say some, so I don't misspeak the number, but there is people who suggest that more information is coming on different members. And now,
fine. I'm okay with that.
Oh, I'm fine with it too. But I'm just saying, like, this was really Kevin McCarthy's parting gift for Matt Gaetz, and Matt Gaetz is not going to go down quietly.
Okay, so I of course he's not, and maybe you're right about McCarthy. I don't doubt that either. But the proof is in the pudding, right? Overwhelming evidence that Matt Gaetz paid women for sex on Venmo. Drugs, horrible behavior, especially for somebody who is an elected official, a guy, by the way, that never passed one bill when he was a congressman. He literally did nothing. He was a noisemaker, not a lawmaker. To the man who you voted for, Donald Trump, doesn't it say a little bit about Donald Trump's judgment? All the people that are capable that he could have picked to be the attorney general, he decides to pick a guy by the name of Matt Gaetz, and he had to have known what was going to be in this report. Doesn't that speak volumes of Donald Trump's judgment, or am I wrong?
Look, we don't. These allegations have been investigated on a criminal basis, and nothing has ever come of it. Certainly, I've read the report. I know it's in the report. I see the allegations, and they seem pretty salacious. I don't know. I don't have enough information to know whether or not the allegations in the report are true. But
David, there's a 17-year-old girl who's hired representation who gave details of a party where she was literally having sex with him with other witnesses who have already put in statements that they saw them having sex. You have the Venmo payments. You have the paper trail. You have the fact that Matt Gaetz made an email in his office at work to buy drugs. Now, I understand that criminally he wasn't charged with anything, but what about the behavior of this guy? I mean, come on, man. I mean, we've had conversations about George Santos before. This is somebody who Donald Trump picked to be the attorney general. You don't have a problem with that?
No, I'm not saying I don't have a problem with it. What I'm saying is I don't know what basis went into the report. I don't know who made the testimony, the reliability of it. This isn't a court, right? There's not an opportunity for Matt Gaetz to provide a defense testimony, to provide his sense of the case. This is basically a fishing expedition by the House Ethics Committee. They get the information they need, and then they put it in a report. But Gaetz doesn't have the opportunity to bring witnesses. It's not an impeachment. There's no opportunity for him to bring witnesses.
He was asked to testify. He refused to.
Well, because of the committee, and I don't know this to be, he hasn't told me this, but I assume it's because he thinks the committee's a sham and they're out to get him.
Why did he step down then? And why did he do all these things beforehand? Now, my opinion, David, is that he got together with Donald Trump wearing the Donald Trump knee pads and said, Mr. President-elect, please pick me as the AG because I don't want this report to become public. Donald Trump, because if you kiss Donald Trump's ass enough, he will also scratch your back, said, okay, Matt, but if you become the AG, you're going to have to do everything I tell you to do. I think it's pretty evident what happened here. They're not, and this is the biggest problem with this. And this is the problem with so many MAGA Republicans, in my opinion, that are going to be working for Donald Trump already have. They don't think about the country first. They don't think about others first. They only think about themselves. That's the way Donald Trump thinks. That's the way Matt Gaetz thinks. And that's the way many people in Trump's administration think, sadly. That's the biggest problem with this whole thing, in my opinion, David. Where am I wrong there?
I mean, I don't think the president thinks for himself. I mean, here's a guy who was very wealthy, had a lot of friends, and people liked him. He had a TV show. Do you remember, got to go back to the days of The Apprentice. That was one of the top rated shows on ABC. He had a lot of friends. The girls of The View loved him. He was on Saturday Night Live. And then he suggested that he would run for president. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, shows are canceled. Everybody hates him. He's the worst human being on the planet. He lost probably millions, if not billions of dollars.
He's made over $500 million in profit because he's been the president.
He's one of the few presidents that lost money from being president, not gained money from being president.
Nobody would characterize that as Trump not making money from the presidency. Everybody around him made money, including his daughter and Jared Kushner.
Billionaire before he became president, and he lost a lot of money while president. Compare that to somebody like Barack Obama or Bill Clinton. These people were not millionaires before they became president, and now they're very wealthy people.
They haven't received $400 million in campaign contributions lying about
Trump
election
also
integrity.
had to pay $400 million to the state of New York on a fishing expedition in the civil. So Trump has had for as many benefits.
You could call it a fishing expedition, but I think most people would not characterize it as that. You can't lie about your assets for personal benefit.
You know, and then I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with this. They said Trump misstated the value of his assets, one including Mar-a-Lago. They valued Mar-a-Lago like $17 million. And if you've been to Palm Beach where Mar-a-Lago is, you can't buy a parking spot for $17 million. All right,
so I don't
actually think that was an
accurate. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to get into the weeds there.
No,
the bottom line,
that's a whole little show in it.
Right, but the bottom line is Donald Trump is far wealthier now than he was before he ran for office.
I don't know that that's true. I don't know that that's true.
I think it's pretty evident. And if you look at the two reasons why even people around him would agree why he ran for president, it wasn't because he cared about people like you and me or any of his supporters, quite frankly. The reason why he ran for president, number one, he didn't like the comments that Barack Obama made about him and his ego was hurt. And number two, he did it for his brand. He never thought he was going to win the presidency, but he did it because he thought it would help his brand.
I don't think I don't agree. I mean, I respect your opinion on that. I just don't agree with it because I don't see any benefit that Donald Trump received from being president. He was impeached. He was investigated. He was almost murdered. I mean, what benefit does Donald Trump enjoy besides literally his entire family being scrutinized?
Easy answer. He loves being in the limelight. He was
in the limelight, though, Brian. He was already in the limelight. He had number one show. He didn't need to be president.
There's a lot of things he doesn't need to do. He could drive off into the Maga bigot sunset if he wanted to, but he wants to be the center of attention. He wants to be the king. He has a massive ego. You can't deny that. He is a narcissist. You can't deny that. He loves being the center of attention. You can't deny that either. And the fact of the matter is that when you look at his behavior and his actions or lack thereof, he doesn't care about America. He only cares about himself and the people around him and the people at Mar-a-Lago and his billionaire friends.
Well, here's the good news. Before November 5th, we could speculate and have the hypothetical conversation of who he cares about, or at least the perception of what people think he cares about. But after November 5th, it became apparent that the majority of this country doesn't believe those things to be true, at least not enough that would make people not vote for him. He won this election.
By about 1.4%. So half the country still hates him.
Yes, but if you look at the where he won biggest, it was big swings towards Donald Trump.
He won all the swing states. He won all the swing states by about 250,000 votes. It was one of the closest elections we've ever had. About half the country still hates him. We are very,
over by 11 o'clock at night. Basically, it
wasn't that close. Doesn't matter what time it was over. Yeah. What matters is by how much did he win the popular vote?
He won the popular vote, right?
When
was the last time a Republican won both the Electoral College and the popular vote?
Well, I think that speaks volumes on the party that you're in. I think you're making the case.
But I'm talking about now, and I don't disagree with you. I'm a MAGA Republican, as you've established. I'm not a Republican, and I don't think Republicans have put good.
David, I hear you, David. And yes, he did win the popular vote, but this isn't some sort of massive win.
It is a massive win. For Trump, it is.
For Trump, it is. Okay, well, I don't know what that means. But
what I'm saying, if you look between 2016, where he won, but didn't win the electoral vote, the popular vote, to 2020, where he lost, and if you believe that the election was fair, which I know you do, he lost by about 10 million. Lost by about 10 million votes, right? To Joe Biden's 80.
Wasn't that a mandate then? Was 2020 a mandate when Joe Biden won the popular vote?
If you go from a guy who won about 68 million votes in 2020 and lost to Joe Biden's 80 million, if that's correct, and then you look at 2024, right? This is after, don't forget, the impeachment on his way out, all of these other things, right? And 4 indictments. Right? Multiple civil suits, one for a sexual assault, as you've described plenty of times. And now in 2024, he won over 74 million votes. So he went from 68 million to 74 million in spite of multiple indictments, civil lawsuits, allegations against him. And he won the popular vote. So I would say, yeah, that's a pretty good swing going if you just track.
So saying it's a pretty good swing is different than calling it a mandate. Would you say Joe Biden?
He won the popular vote and the electoral vote.
No, I don't define that as a mandate. A mandate is not winning the popular vote by 1.4%. But with that being said,
in this country right now, that's a mandate.
Well, I disagree. I don't think it's half the country still hates him. But would you say Joe Biden, that was the mandate in 2020 when he won the popular vote by like 12 million? Was that a mandate?
I mean, let me tell you something. I don't know what the mandate was because I don't know if Joe Biden knew what the mandate was. What has Joe Biden done in the last 4 years for America? I mean,
that wasn't my question. Wasn't policy. In 2000,
you want to know about the mandate? Was it a mandate? I mean, look, in 2020, I think did we lose the House in 20? Yeah, we lost the House in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we lost the Senate in 2020. I have to go and time travel in my mind. It's been a while. And we lost the White House. And Joe Biden won by, if you think the election was fair in 2020, which you do.
Not what I think, though. I mean, listen, when you think Donald Trump was a good president, or you think
I was about to acknowledge your mandate, I would say yes. I would call that a mandate. Good. Yes.
Okay. All right. I just didn't hear Democrats, going all over on every network.
That's their fault. They should have seized on that mandate, but they didn't.
I just think it's Donald Trump and his people making the case that it was a bigger or a landslide victory when it wasn't. He won all the swing states by 250,000 votes, and he won the popular vote by 1.4%, which for the most part means for everybody that voted, almost half of them did not vote for Donald Trump. That's not a mandate.
That's true, but you also have to look back and remember the day before Election Day. People really thought Pennsylvania was going to be competitive. People thought Michigan was going to be competitive. People thought the Carolinas were going to be competitive.
People think a lot of things.
He won convincingly in those states. And we're not talking like Georgia margins, right? Where we're talking about a few thousand votes. Mm-hmm. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of votes. That is a big victory considering what people thought he would get the day before the election.
I don't really pay attention to what people think. A lot of people thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win in a landslide.
Yeah, wasn't that stupid?
A lot of Trump supporters thought that he was going to destroy Joe Biden. So, there's people that
Joe Biden got out of the race after one debate.
7 out of 10 Republicans still think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. That's why I don't pay attention to what some people think. But it is what it is. Donald Trump did win, but my question to you is, it doesn't seem to bother you at all that Donald Trump, of all the people he could have chose, you're an attorney, David, all the people that he chose, that he wanted to be the attorney general, he decided to choose Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
That type of decision making.
I was excited about the pick, and this is going to upset you. You're going to be like, what are you saying? Right. And this is going to be one of those viral clips. I do my best to avoid viral clips from your show, but I was excited when Matt Gaetz was picked because as a Maga Republican, we are sick and tired of the do nothing traditional type establishment Republicans.
Matt Gaetz hasn't passed one bill.
Do know
he's the definition of do nothing?
Do you know what kind of AG he would have been? He would have done all the things that we've been begging
David,
for.
You just said you don't like people who do nothing establishment Republicans. Right. That's exactly who Matt Gaetz is.
Matt Gaetz is not a do nothing establishment Republican.
What bill has he passed? Name me one bill.
I don't know his legislative record.
Because it's zero. He hasn't passed one bill. He's been a congressman for years. He didn't pass one bill. He's the exact definition of what you're talking about. The Jim Jordans of the world. That's who he is.
Well, look, I don't know about his legislative record.
He doesn't have one.
I'm sure he has drafted bills that maybe haven't passed. He's led committees. He does a lot of real. Look, Matt Gaetz. The fact that we're talking about Matt Gaetz, you can say he's a do nothing, whatever you said he was. But the thing is, you know who he is, right? Everybody knows who Matt Gaetz is.
Yeah, a bad guy who does drugs and gets prostitutes.
That's what's been alleged. What I'm saying is he has made a name for himself being very effective in Washington, D.C. and being a leader in Washington.
Definitely made a name for himself. I agree with you there. He's definitely made a name for himself, just like George Santos has made a name for himself and some other of these Republicans who I think are disgraceful human beings, whether it's stealing from your campaign or whether it's buying drugs and coming up with these fake emails from your work office or these sex parties or the Madison Cawthorns of the world. What if it was somebody on the left that did the exact same thing?
Like Diddy, where Kamala
Diddy's
Harris
not
used
a politician.
No, but a politician.
What?
Barack Obama, Kamala Harris has been to his parties.
Okay, so you're claiming if somebody goes to a party, okay, let's go with that for a moment, please.
We know what happened at the Diddy parties, right?
Let's go with that. By the way,
everybody knew what happened at the Diddy parties.
Let's be clear here. If it's guilty by association, the guy who you voted for, Jeffrey Epstein said was one of his best friends.
But yet Donald Trump never went to Epstein Island.
How do you know that?
Where Bill Clinton has, because he's said he's never been there.
He's If it's guilty by association,
But
then
what's
let's
the
go with
association?
that.
Because they know him? Trump knows a lot of people.
You mean to tell me on tape that man who killed himself allegedly?
I agree with
on
that
tape
allegedly all day long. Yeah.
Donald Trump was one of his best friends.
Right.
In the Maxwell trial, they said that Trump was on the flight log at a minimum of 7 times. But you want to bring up Barack Obama or Kamala Harris, who allegedly went to one of his parties, insinuating that Harris or Obama committed crimes, which, by the way, there is zero
I
evidence.
didn't say they committed crime.
But you're saying guilty by association.
No, I'm not saying guilt by association. That was your word. Guilt by association was your word.
Why would you bring up Puff Daddy, who's never been a politician
because
before?
You were talking about these parties, and I said other politicians have been to similar parties. That was what the comparison was.
I'm talking about an elected official,
right,
who took drugs, illegal drugs, who had sex with women for money, and allegedly had sex with an underage girl. Nothing that Kamala Harris or Obama have ever done in their life, they have ever been accused of. Any of that stuff.
Obama has done illegal drugs. He admitted to it. He wrote a book about it.
Not when he was a politician in office and paid by the taxpayers. That's the difference. Do you not see the difference, David?
Look, I think that I don't know how much of the allegations. Again, there's been no opportunity for Matt Gaetz to defend himself against any of these other than being subpoenaed by a committee who was out to get him. This isn't the process where you can defend yourself. It's guilt because they say so. So I'm not going to assume for a second that anything in this is true beyond a reasonable doubt, even
and
beyond.
Why doesn't that apply to Hunter Biden? Why doesn't it apply? I had the guy on.
Doesn't apply?
I had a guy on yesterday who broke the laptop story, a complete nimrod. And you know, the claims of he has sex with underage girls, never been proven anywhere.
Right.
All this stuff on the laptop that has not been proven in a court of law anyway. So why doesn't that apply to somebody like Hunter Biden? We've heard Joe Biden.
What do you mean it doesn't apply?
The Biden crime family. Nobody has shown any evidence that Joe Biden has committed any crimes at all, but yet so many on the far right call them the Biden crime family, and Joe Biden did this, he did that, he's a pedophile, he did this, when nothing has been proven. But yet when we talk about Matt Gaetz, you could certainly show a lot more evidence of crimes that Matt Gaetz committed than anything Joe Biden's done in his life. Why doesn't it apply to the other side?
Well, look, and I can't speak for, I don't speak on behalf of everybody on the right. And I don't know. Now, I probably have flippantly said things about the Biden crime family, but I've never did a show on Hunter Biden. I've never. I'm
not saying you, David.
Yeah, well, I can only speak for me. So no, I try to apply the same standards across the board. And you and I have spoken about Hunter in the past, where I think on our last show where we were talking about his pardoning, and I didn't have a problem with it. And
let me reemphasize that I'm not specifically
to be fair.
I understand. I'm not specifically talking about. Yeah. I'm not specifically talking about you when it comes to Hunter Biden, just the MAGA right in general. Right. But I want to bring something up with you, and I do want to open up the phone lines here in a little bit.
I can't wait. That's gonna be my Christmas
present. I'll let people call in now at 702-221-7283. You're gonna have an opportunity to debate David, question David, or question me and agree with David.
Yeah. Call me names, whatever.
Yes. But David, I wanted to bring this story up because hypocrisy is a word I use a lot. And I'm not saying the left doesn't do it as well. But there's I don't know if you heard about this story. It's a very troubling story, right? A gay Georgia couple convicted of sexual abuse of their 2 adopted sons. Terrible story. We both agree.
I saw something come across. I didn't read it, but I saw the image and I saw the headline. Yeah.
Horrible story, right? I would agree. I'm sure you would. They deserve life in prison. It's horrible. But I find it as selective outrage in this aspect. So many MAGA Republicans on Twitter today are talking about this sexual abuse. But when it comes to Donald Trump, he's innocent. He's my guy. I like his policies. 30 women accusing him of sexual abuse, rape, or sexual abuse.
Listen, man, ABC just had to pay $10 million to the Trump inaugural committee.
I have an answer to that.
George Stephanopoulos has to apologize publicly for that exact thing.
I did some research on that one, David. So first of all, people at ABC met with Trump's team, and I find it very interesting, and it was $15 million, by the way, that after this settlement, The first interview they did was with ABC. Donald Trump does an interview with ABC.
Yeah.
So that's not normal behavior after
Well,
somebody just pays you $15 million on defamation.
I'm just saying it has been very thorough. I mean, it literally, you can't say Trump is a rapist. That is not accurate.
He's a liable sexual abuser, and the judge characterized it as rape. That is 150%.
However the judge characterized it, regardless,
we can get into the weeds,
right? But I'm just saying it's a slanderous statement.
David,
to suggest that Trump is a rapist. He's never been
but
convicted.
let's not get off kilter here. The point
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
trying to make, and the question I'm asking to you is this, David. Donald Trump has had 30 women plus that have accused him of sexual abuse or rape,
Right.
including his ex-wife in a deposition.
How do accusations fall even comparable to what the Georgia case is? How are we
So,
making a parallel to this?
Here's why. Here's
Yeah.
why. Whether we're talking about Matt Gaetz
Mhm.
and his improprieties, whether we're talking about Donald Trump, a liable sexual abuser, whether we're talking about Pete Hegseth, who wasn't criminally charged, but put a woman in an NDA who claimed that he raped her. Republicans don't want to talk about that, but I do find it interesting that today they all want to talk about a couple that happens to be gay. Many of these I find that very interesting. They talk about transgenders and how transgenders want to molest your kids in bathrooms when there's no evidence to suggest that they're more likely to commit a crime in a bathroom than somebody born a man going into the men's room or somebody born a woman going into the woman's room. But they, interestingly enough, all of a sudden today care about sexual abuse when they vote for a liable sexual abuse.
I can't more strongly disagree that there's a comparison between the allegations against the Georgia couple and Donald Trump. I think a lot of people have made allegations that are not true about Donald Trump, but to draw a parallel between the two, I think is—
How do you know they're not true? Why would you assume they're not true?
Because—
Every woman is lying?
What do you mean if not true? Where have they been proven true? They've been alleged. Allegations are allegations. Anybody can allege, especially against somebody as hated on the left as Donald Trump. So, but no, nothing. He's never been charged for rape. He's never been brought up on criminal charges. And now they've charged him for everything else under the sun. If you did something with sexual abuse related, trust me, they would have charged him on it. Even if they had no evidence, they would have found a way to charge him on it. So to sit there and say, oh, yes, the same thing, I just think that's a gross—
Here's why I completely disagree with you. First of all, I believe Bill Cosby raped hundreds of women. Never will Bill Cosby ever be convicted with so many of those women who at the time never came forward. So listen, I respectfully, I disagree with you. Just because somebody hasn't been found guilty in a court of law.
I do not believe Trump has ever, he's denied it. I believe
well, he must
him.
be telling the truth then. Yeah,
I believe him. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to draw parallels to a Georgia couple.
He must be telling the truth based on his history and how he's treated women in his life. We must believe Donald Trump.
There's plenty of women who says Trump treats them well. He fills his cabinet. He selected in his administration.
That's like saying I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. I have a black friend. That's what you're saying.
No, but that's what the left will do to prove that they're not racist as they act racist. Trump actually puts his money where his mouth is, and he treats everybody the same, regardless
How many black
of gender.
people are in his administration?
I can Google it. I'm sure more than are in Joe Biden's administration. And more so than that, when was the last time a Democrat allowed a woman to be chief of staff, White House chief of staff? Zero times.
A woman, last I checked, the last several presidential
White House chief of staff? The
last
first
I've checked,
woman White House chief of staff ever was Donald Trump.
You're talking about the White House chief of staff.
Yes.
2 women have run for president of the United States on the left on the ticket. So
Republican women run for president of the United States too.
I don't understand what you're trying to make of
what
that.
I'm suggesting is, you said that people have all these problems with women. You said consider Donald Trump's history with women.
I do.
And I know women who know Donald Trump personally who say he's the kindest person, treats them with respect, and I know he respects women. And proof of that is he gives women some of the highest trusted positions in his administration. For somebody who has a problem with women, women sure love to work for him.
So let's talk about the women that know him best. I wonder what his ex-wives would say about that. Melania Trump doesn't even want to be anywhere near the White House. The people that I care about the most are the people that know Donald Trump the best. Like, for example, the people that worked in Donald Trump's administration first go around, when half of them wouldn't even support him for re-election.
We know who was in Donald Trump's first administration, and they weren't friends of Donald Trump. I know lots of women who worked
because they weren't friends.
I know lots of women personally that worked in Donald Trump's first administration that still love Donald Trump, would still work for Donald Trump. Some of them are going to work for Donald Trump again.
Well, guess what?
David, wonderful things about Donald Trump.
David, there are people that write love letters to Scott Peterson behind bars. So that just because you like somebody,
parallels to people you're making.
Well, I'm making the comparison. Just because a woman claims they like somebody somebody doesn't mean that that person must
You
treat
said
all
Trump
women
has a problem
respectfully.
with women, and
I
I
think he
said
does.
you're suggesting that based
Yeah.
on what? And I've said I have the same empirical evidence
Based
that
on
suggests
what?
that Trump doesn't have a problem with women.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
based on because he hired a few women, and there's some women that
No,
say they treat him with
based on
respect.
personal relationships that Trump shares with women that say Trump is a wonderful person. They don't have a problem with women.
The 5 kids he has with 3 different women, the fact that he hasn't been faithful to one of them his entire life, the fact that he attacks women based on looks. I mean, look at his history and the way he's lived his life. He's never been honorable and honest with one woman he's ever been with his entire life. So there might be some people out there like the Caroline Levetts of the world and others that think Donald Trump treats women with respect and he's so wonderful to women. But I've never heard one guy in his life talk about grabbing women by the P word. I've been in plenty of locker rooms my life. I've never heard a guy talk like that before.
Trump, well, I don't even want to get down this road. You know that Trump was tricked into a hot mic of having a locker room type conversation with somebody on a bus where he thought it was private. And you know that guys, when they sit around, they speak inappropriately, that not that they would around other people.
Let me ask you another question, David.
Yeah.
What if you have a daughter, right?
Yes. But
Okay.
I don't want to talk about my kids on the show.
I'm not saying it for that reason. I would never disrespect you like that.
No, I don't think you are. I just,
because I know you're a good father. I know that you're a good father and a good husband. But the reason why I asked that is for this reason, and hopefully you'll understand why I'm saying it. Hypothetically speaking, if somebody in your family, I'll phrase it like that, was in a pageant, okay, 15, 16 years old, and Donald Trump storms into that locker room while your daughter is changing without her permission, goes on the Howard Stern show, brags about it in a sexual manner, and then some of those women now and in the last several years have spoken out about that. Is that somebody who respects women because he runs a pageant, goes in there with a bunch of teenagers changing naked? How do we know this for sure, David? Because he not only admitted to it, but David, he bragged about it on the Howard Stern show. Is that the behavior of somebody that you think respects women?
Like I've said, I think for all of the evidence that you're suggesting shows that Trump doesn't respect women, has a problem with women. I think there are more than enough stories and evidence that shows that Trump doesn't have a problem with women.
Okay,
Trump
so
does respect women.
I hear you, David. You could come up with a lot of stuff. Yeah. Let's just say he's been perfect his entire life with women, which, by the way, we know is not true. But for argument's sake, he goes into a locker room with teenage girls, knowingly that he did not have permission to be in there while they're naked. Some of them were naked. Not only did they do interviews, some of these women now.
Wait a minute. When Joe Biden showered with his daughter?
Okay, so you're pivoting. I'm happy to talk to you about that.
No, I'm not pivoting. What I'm suggesting is you're telling a story that's being represented in a way that tries to paint Trump in a bad picture, just as people use the Joe Biden showering with his daughter situation to suggest
not a fair analogy. Here's why. Not a fair analogy. Here's why. Yeah. First of all, that diary was in the hands of multiple people, including a guy by the name of Mr. O'Keefe. It was never verified by Joe Biden's daughter that she wrote that in the diary. Never verified. In fact, his daughter spoke and introduced him at the DNC. That was never verified. So you're literally talking about something that was never verified by Joe Biden or his daughter.
And how is Trump walking in intentionally to a dressing room with naked girls?
Because he said it.
Verified.
Because he said it on the Howard
What was the context in which he said it?
The context, he said, well, I guess they let me do it because I own the pageant. And he walked in there and he talked about beautiful women naked. And some of those women have done interviews since then, have said he did not have permission to be in that room. And I did not give him permission to be in there. And Donald Trump sexualized it on the Howard Stern show. Joe Biden and his daughter have never verified anything.
The Howard Stern show likely sexualized it, not Donald Trump. But that's
Donald Trump. If you listen to the interview, it was Donald Trump.
I'll listen to it after, and then I'll give you an opinion on it. I haven't heard the interview.
Has that diary and that page that you're talking about, where allegedly Joe Biden had a shower with his daughter, and by the way, we don't know how old.
I don't know. I didn't even want to talk about that. I don't even care about it. I'm just suggesting.
Well, you brought it up. I'm just saying
I did it as an illustration that people can bring up allegations that seem salacious and could prove the character of somebody without actually knowing the entire story behind it.
Well, if the person that actually did it not only verifies it but brags about it in a sexual manner, then I'm going to talk about it on the show. But all right, good debate.
Yeah,
I don't even think we should take a break. I think we should go right to the phone
sponsors, man. It's up to you.
I think we should go right to the calls because I don't want to. Oh, wow. Our phones are full. Yeah. David, our phones are already full.
Let's do it. It's Christmas time. Christmas gift. Christmas gift to your listeners. It's going to be therapeutic.
David is nice enough to be doing this, but I've been in some of his spaces too where people went after me. So it's give and take, right? All right, let's go to.
We'll have fun with it. I like callers.
702-221-7283. Let's start off with Jason. Yeah. Jason, you're on with David Pollock. Go right ahead.
Okay, first I just want to say one thing. I just don't want the Fox News interruption. I just got a couple of points to make, and then you can dispute it if you want. Number one, when you kept talking about Donald Trump is on videotape with Epstein hugging him at the party. So that's number one. Number two, I've never been anywhere and talked about how I grab a woman by the genitalia and brag about it, ever. That's number two. Number three, Donald Trump charged the FBI and the Secret Service when he had that hotel in Washington extra money every single time. So he made money as a president and all his family. That's number three. And last but not least, you MAGA people are going to cause 1861 to come back because it's okay to kill George Floyd. It's okay to kill Breonna Taylor. But Daniel Penny is a hero. And you cry about the CEO that got killed, but you don't worry about the thousands of people that die from CEOs making the decision to let people die to save money. So remember this. Just remember one thing. If there's ever another civil war, MAGA started it because the Democrats are going to get tired of you keep on saying it was good for y'all, it's bad for us. And I'll just say after that, you can dispute anything I have to say. But just remember, Michael Brown, that hands up, don't shoot, was shot in the face for $1 cigarette.
All right, let's let David respond. All right, thank you for the call, Jason. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, that's good energy. And I took notes so I wouldn't interrupt him. I'll go in order. And I do appreciate the call. All right, let's go in order of the things that I think we can have an interesting discussion on, and maybe a point where we'll probably agree. I don't draw the comparison between, by the way, Penny and George Floyd. I think there were two different situations. I think a police officer went to jail for killing George Floyd until that case
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Jack, you were just at the what was it called in Phoenix, right?
Amfest.
And Jack Posobiec said he's going to do everything he can because Derek Chauvin didn't commit any crimes. He's going to get. Do you agree with Jack Posobiec when he said that at Amfest?
I think Jack Posobiec is welcome to find evidence, and if they can find exculpatory evidence and a court of law agrees that he wasn't criminally responsible, then so be it. I believe in the justice system. Sometimes.
Apparently, Jack doesn't.
But that being said, I think that you can't draw a comparison to Daniel Penny because, again, he had a trial in New York City. Daniel Penny, there was a lot of people on the train, black people, Hispanic people, white people, who felt that he was acting appropriately. And that's what the jury agreed with. So I don't think Daniel Penny was a racist who targeted that man on the train, the Michael Jackson impersonator. I think that was a much different situation, and I think a lot of people wish Daniel Penny was there yesterday when that woman burned to death on the train while police officers just walked by and watched it. That was horrible. But that being said, the CEO thing and the Civil War thing, I want to talk about both those because there's a really interesting. And I'll talk about the CEO thing first. I can't agree more that healthcare companies in the United States have taken advantage of Americans. Personally, I mean, we've dealt with health insurance issues, and I have good health insurance, with things having to be approved, things not being paid the right way, having to wait. And a lot of people are frustrated with the way healthcare is run.
But hold on, though. It's going to be okay because Donald Trump has concepts of a plan.
I hope so. We'll see.
Yeah, he's got concepts.
I hope so. But regarding the CEO being murdered as a result, and so this is important because I think we do have issues with healthcare. Mm-hmm. I don't think the way you solve those issues is by murdering executives. I
think most people would agree with that, David.
Yeah. So that I don't think you can ever justify political violence. And look, Republicans, Democrats have all condemned political violence of any kind.
But I don't understand these Republicans that are going on television saying these Democrats are looking at this guy Luigi as a hero. You couldn't name me one prominent Democrat.
No, it's not Democrats. No, it's not. Maybe they just are not speaking appropriately.
A lot of people that are saying that.
No, I understand, but I don't think I don't agree with that. I don't think it's I think that the people that are celebrating the CEO's murder are people that unfortunately are living in a time, and this goes to the Civil War part of his question. Interesting talking points, by the way, that he brings up. This is why I love callers. It does bring up an interesting sort of parallel that we're ending up in a time. And you got to go back to the foundation of our country in the 1700s. People were so pissed about policies that disagree with. They were tar and feathering people. They were burning down homes of some political official. I mean, it was a very dangerous time in America. And it wasn't a civil war, it was a revolutionary war.
Right.
So, Civil War, obviously, we saw similar disputes. People are angry and they want something, right?
And I understand that. But
and
David,
but
here's my issue,
murdering
though.
people and a civil war is not how we solve
David,
these
I
problems.
agree. But here's my frustration again with the right. I remember when Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer and was almost killed.
Yeah.
You actually had elected officials that were making jokes about it. Ted Cruz was spreading conspiracy theories. He wasn't saying thoughts and prayers or, we hope that Paul gets through this okay. No, he was talking about it being a gay relationship because MAGA Republicans seem to be obsessed with gay people, and that Paul Pelosi let him in. Matt Gaetz, by the way, also made jokes about it on social media. I didn't see one person that's an elected official making a joke about this CEO dying. And now there were people on social media that were making jokes, which I don't condone, but I'm talking about elected officials.
Yeah, I don't know that any election officials did. I mean, again, I haven't seen it. I'm not saying
and I would assume you don't condone Ted Cruz or Matt Gaetz or any of these elected officials at the time who were making jokes about the Paul Pelosi death.
I don't know.
Or I'm sorry, Paul Pelosi, not death.
I know what you meant. No, I'm not familiar with it, so I don't want to speak on it. But that being said, I was thinking about this the other day, actually, when Joe Biden was asked if he was going to go to the inauguration. He's like, of course I'm going to go to the inauguration. And I thought about it because, look, politics have always been messy. Like, this is just normal for it to get heated and usually people come together. But we've crossed into the realm of politics not becoming policy-based, but very personal.
And who started that? What do you think started that?
No, I would say Democrat. I would say politicians equally are responsible.
Oh, come on,
listen,
man.
We can go back and forth. You're going to have your examples, all of mine. I think politicians in general are responsible.
Joe Biden invited Donald Trump to the White House for a peaceful transfer of power.
Donald Trump was gracious and went, and they had a great conversation.
And was Donald Trump just as gracious when he lost the election?
What do you mean? Was he just
Did he invite Joe Biden to the White House? Did he give him the same respect?
There was much different circumstances.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't different. No, it wasn't. Joe Biden won a free and fair election. Donald Trump won a free and fair election. You're making excuses for him.
No, I'm not making excuses. I just don't agree that they're similar circumstances.
But it doesn't matter. Joe Biden won it just because, these were different circumstances. So let's not have a peaceful transfer of power. Can you at least give to me that Donald Trump did not give Joe Biden the same respect that Joe Biden gave Donald? Oh, yeah, Barack Obama did the same thing too, by the way. Remember that? The guy that started the birther issue and the lies and the racist lies about Obama not being born in this country, which was not true. Obama still had the grace, if you want to talk about grace, to invite Donald Trump to the White House for a peaceful transfer of power.
But Barack Obama was one of the first presidents in modern history that remained active politically after becoming president and then publicly coming out against the sitting presidents have been very respectful to
really the last 4 years. Donald Trump has been very respectful to
Donald Trump. Barack Obama, because of his youth. Usually presidents are too damn old after they run their two terms that they don't really get involved. They usually
What's the worst thing that he has done, Barack Obama, after leaving office that you think he's not allowed to make a speech and have opinions?
Well, the danger of that is, and the reason why it's never been done is because you talk about that peaceful transition of power when a former president who is still viewed by, a president is always a president, right? They're always viewed as being a leader and they control lots of people. And when presidents take a position, they lead people in that position and it becomes destructive. And so
I agree. Like January 6th, he led people on January 6th.
I think Barack Obama was the beginning of the destructive politics in this country. I think some of the ways he described the people, some of the tactics that he encouraged his supporters to engage in, get in their faces and so on and so forth. I think it took us to, yes, he did. He said, get in their faces. I can find the clip. And
confrontational. So you have, if Obama did make the claim of get in their faces,
right?
You have a major issue with that. Did those people storm the Capitol? Were those the people that attacked police officers with their own batons? And your
caller brought up George Floyd. You know what happened in the wake of George Floyd. January 6th is a picnic compared to what happened in some of our urban communities across this country.
That stormed the Capitol.
How many more people died in the George Floyd riots than they did on January 6th?
What's your point there?
My point is
Black Lives Matter. You're blaming Joe Biden or a Democrat in office for Black Lives Matter protests?
No, what I'm suggesting is the violence, the political violence in the wake of George Floyd, and
Right.
that you had people like Maxine Waters and people, Barack Obama during Trayvon Martin. You have when you fan the flames of racism and you say these people are responsible for this, and talk about people in general, that is what leads to violence. And
get
that
into
is,
your face and get confrontational is what you take issue with for all the Black Lives Matter protests. But when you lie about an election and say the election was stolen and Joe Biden and the Democrats cheated, and then we have something called January 6th,
we're
that's
going to
totally
find
okay.
out very soon what happened in the election of 2020. And I think some people are going to be surprised.
We're going to find out. I don't know what that means.
I
We're
think
gonna find out
information is going
very
to come
soon.
to light that maybe some of
I've
the
been hearing that
allegations.
I've been hearing that for 4 years.
But guess what? We didn't have the White House, and now we do. And
Yeah, I've been hearing that for 4 years. And the Democrats.
I think we're going to
didn't
find
storm-
out some stuff.
All right, let's get back to the calls. The
Sure,
Democrats didn't storm the
How did
Capitol.
I do?
either.
How did I do?
Okay.
How did I do?
You'll have to, Jason will have to call back on Thursday because I'm off tomorrow and we'll find out. All right. Who are we going to next year? Phone lines are full. Let's go to Jarvis. Jarvis is next on PTL. Hi, Jarvis. You're on with David. Go right ahead.
What's going on, guys?
Hey.
Thanks for taking the call. Hey, David, I have a question, man. Do you have any concern with the fake elector scheme that Trump and his team implemented in 5 swing states that led to some of the fake electors to actually get convicted and do jail time? Does that give you any pause, any concern, or are you just going to brush it off?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean when you say the fake elector scheme. What specifically is the fake elector scheme?
Trump and his team tried to implement fake electors in 5 swing states. I believe Arizona, Michigan,
Right. Nevada as well.
and Nevada. And basically, some of those people actually got convicted of
Correct.
You know,
But you said it was Trump.
Fake electors.
Trump, or you said the Trump team did it. Why is it? How did Trump was responsible for fake electors?
Well, I'll just
I
help
think
you
it
out
was
here.
Trump supporters. I don't think it was Trump.
There were people within
Right.
Trump's orbit that had personal contact with some of those who were prosecuted. In fact, it was Donald Trump himself who pressured the Secretary of State in Georgia and others. I need to find this many amount of votes. He pressured people, and there were people around him that were in contact with the Tina Peters of the world.
Right. But my understanding of the situation was that it was people in the Trump orbit necessarily, not Trump himself. And
All right. Well, I think the question is do you have a problem with those that have been prosecuted or those that were alleged to have?
I think if somebody engages in illegal election activity, they should be prosecuted, regardless of who they're doing it in support.
So Tina Peters deserves to be in jail. Is that a fair?
I don't know enough about it, Tina Peters specifically, or about what you went to jail for to comment on it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you for the call, Jarvis. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL.
I'm afraid.
Hi, Mark.
I'm afraid.
Go ahead, Mark.
Good afternoon. David, in my opinion, you're a clown. How come everything that is mentioned against Biden, all the rumors, all the conspiracy theories, you know all about them, but every little thing that's pointed out about Trump, oh, I haven't seen that article. I didn't know about it. I have to go read up about it. Do you know why? And you asked, there was nothing for Trump to gain out of running for the presidency. I'm going to tell you exactly why Trump ran for the presidency. And one time, Roger Stone talked. One time, I believe him, when he went on an interview on TV. It happened April of 2011. Prior to April 2011, Trump bashed Obama about the birther. I want to see a birth certificate. He was born in Kenya. Melania Trump went on a talk show talking about it. He's not an American citizen. And that went on for months and months. And then Obama was sick of it. And he roasted him at the Correspondents' Dinner in April of 2011. And Roger Stone got on TV and stated, I have never seen Trump.
All right, Mark, hang on the line. Hang on the line.
Worse than that.
Mark, hang on the line. Hang on the line. Go ahead, David. Go ahead and respond.
I'm not sure what I'm responding to. Other than
Well, I mean, I don't speak for Mark, but I think Mark was saying, well, when it comes to Democrats, you talk about this, and this, and you're specific. But then when there's some accually asked about Republicans.
That's easy. What's the caller's name again?
Mark.
Mark. That one's easy because usually when I go on shows and I do my show, I prepare and I research things, so I'm not just speaking out of my rear. And so when I come on, Brian,
out of your rear because you prepare.
you didn't let me answer the question.
Everything about
All right, Mark,
Biden,
hang on.
and you know nothing about Trump.
All right, Mark,
I
hang on.
was
Go
answering
ahead,
your
David.
question. I'm giving you like a behind the curtain thing of how this works. And so when I come on Brian's show, we don't talk about what I'm going to talk about when I come on. I just show up, and he asks me questions about things. And because I'm careful not to comment on things that I don't fully understand, my response as a lawyer is always, I don't have enough information to give you an opinion on it, because guess what? This is recorded, and I could say something not knowing what I'm talking about and look like an idiot and look like a clown. And so to be cautious, if I don't have sufficient information to speak on something, I give him my opinion on things that I can opine on. But when it comes to specifics, I'll say that.
Like, for example, oh boy, there's some big information coming about the 2020 election. Like that sort of stuff.
That's my opinion. Yes.
right. Okay. Mark, thanks for the call. 702-221. I mean, probably Mark could have probably gone on with you forever, but I got
I don't mind. He seems like a good guy.
Let's go to Linda. Linda is next on PTL. Hey, Linda, go right ahead.
Hi, Brian. It's Linda calling again.
Lower your radio because we got a little bit of a delay here because, you know, David likes to swear on the air.
I never, ever swear on the air.
I know. I'm just kidding. All right. Go ahead, Linda. Go ahead.
Hi, David.
Hi.
It's Linda calling.
Hi, Linda.
David, I'm telling you, you're a typical attorney. Okay, as far as I'm concerned.
Good.
You need to take your knee pads off first. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. You seem to have selective amnesia. It's convenient for you to say, oh, I don't recall that. I don't recall that, but you recall a lot of other things. So I don't believe you, number one. And you do look like an idiot and a clown.
Wow.
That's all I had to say, Brian.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Look like an
Merry
idiot.
Christmas.
You can do so much better. Goodbye.
All right. Wow, Linda really getting after it. David, I'll let you try.
Listen, Brian, this is what I like. This is what I like. Because they listen, obviously, and hopefully, and your phones are full, so people are excited to yell at me. But they're excited. This is engaging for them. And as my Christmas gift to them, or holiday gift, or Festivus gift, what I can offer them is the chance to get this off their chest, to attack, it's like a throw a ball at the guy in the tank, the dunk. I'm like the dunk tank.
Now you know what I have to deal with when I go into these MAGA spaces every day. There, you know, it's brutal. But hey, she called you some names. I would prefer my listeners.
That's okay.
You can call David names, just like I say this to MAGA people when they call in. You can call me a name.
Yeah.
Tell me why you think I'm an idiot. So next time
they have done a good job with doing that, though. No, they have. They've called when they call me a clown, they tell me why, and I appreciate that.
Fair enough. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Vivian. Vivian is next on PTL. Go ahead, Vivian.
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
I guess my most issue I have against the MAGAs, as they want to call themselves, is that they're not willing to acknowledge anything that Trump does wrong. I'm from New York. I know this man from what we know in New York. And this guy is not a good guy. And you won't even acknowledge anything he does wrong, not one single thing. You won't even acknowledge the fact that the cases that were against him that's got to be dropped now because they took too long. He was guilty of those.
Vivian, let's test it.
Deny it.
Let's test this, Vivian, right now with David while you're on the line. David, when Donald Trump said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, was he wrong on that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Watch and see the pretzel.
That's a good one, Brian. I will say this.
Why can't you just say it was wrong, David? I know you're a good guy. Why can't you just say it was wrong? Come on, dude.
Pretzel.
No, okay. Let me explain the pretzel thing. Here's why I struggle.
Oh.
Here's why I struggle. I wouldn't have said that, right? Because that's just not my style. I don't insult.
He did.
I know, but here's the thing. Just because Donald Trump has a style that a lot of people disagree with, it's him. It's who he is.
Going after POWs, you would characterize as a stile?
Yeah.
That's a douchebag, David. No,
I know, but John McCain is the reason why your first caller, I think he was so upset about healthcare. John McCain gave us the thumb downs that guaranteed us Obamacare.
So if you disagree with
healthcare.
So if you disagree with somebody's policies, it's okay to attack them as being a POW. That's a defense. That's your defense.
Yeah. Look, I'm not I don't love the comment, but again,
I didn't ask you if you loved it. I said, will you say it's wrong? Why can't you just say it's wrong? to go after.
Thank you.
Because she's right. I defend Donald Trump no matter what.
Man.
I mean, I can't lie.
Brian.
Hey, at least you got David to admit it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll defend him no matter what.
They also need to admit that just use the word MAGA is not going to make America all white. America is never, ever, ever going to be all white.
Ooh,
So
let's
you might
pause there. This is a really good one. No. This is an important actual discussion that for us to have. MAGA, by the way, we don't call ourselves MAGA because we thought it was a cool name. The media basically called everybody that supports Donald Trump MAGA, and so we just adopted it, just like deplorables, just like whatever everybody else calls us. And MAGA, to me, and I think it means different things to different people. Clearly, I think from what you said, and I want to explore that, means something to you. To me, when I say I'm a MAGA Republican, by that I mean I am I'm more in line with constitutional principles. I'm the anti-establishment Republican. That's probably the best way to describe me. And anti-establishment, Trump has come to represent the anti-establishment. So we call ourselves, at least my world, MAGA. Certain people, MAGA Republicans.
I get that, I guess.
But the racist thing is important.
Yeah.
Listen, nobody I know in my circle wants to make America more white, especially by calling ourselves MAGA. That has definitely not ever been one of the goals of affiliating ourselves with MAGA, and it's making America more white. I have a very diverse group of people that we associate with.
I'm not talking about the people that you associate with, but there are MAGA Republicans, some of whom have said they think the man in the household should be the only person that votes. And there are a lot of MAGA Republicans that I've spoken to that
there's
do not
a lot of people who support Trump who believe a lot of different diverse things. But
yes, they do.
To characterize everybody believing
I'm not characterizing. Yeah, I'm not characterizing everybody. I will go to say this, though. I think it's very dangerous when anybody will defend somebody just because they're a Republican or their name is Donald Trump. I just don't agree with that. You have the right to do that. Right. But, a Rashida Tlaib, for example, or an Ilhan Omar, I don't care if they're a Democrat. I will criticize them.
Yeah.
I will criticize them. And unfortunately,
I criticize Republicans plenty.
Yeah, but why
not Donald Trump?
But why, David? Why?
Because I'm in the cult. I'm in the cult.
I know you're being a little facetious, but if Donald Trump says something awful or stupid or wrong, why, even though you still support him and we disagree on that, why can't you just say, you know what? I don't always agree with Donald Trump. What he said about John McCain was wrong.
I'll tell you why. Because in 2016, and I wasn't on media in 2016, so I can't pull tapes. In 2016, when Trump would do something, and I'd go, oh God, why did he do that? And my friends would call me, David, why the hell is he doing that? And the thing is, I learned that there's a method behind the madness. And I've told you about this before, and it makes you angry every time I say it. But he says things intentionally to create controversy, to bring awareness to an issue. He's a master of the media. And he will say things in order to get people to start paying attention to an issue that's being ignored. And he does it better than anybody else has ever done it. So the reason why I turn into a pretzel is because I've learned that it's not always your first reaction as to what Donald Trump says or why he says it. He usually has a reason. He's not as emotional and reactive as I think a lot of people mistakenly suggest. He's very intentional with the things he says.
I mean, if you go after Donald Trump, he'll call you names and he'll go on Truth Social and tweet about you 20 times. He's even done that when people call Elon Musk President Musk. Right. But let's take some other calls. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. All right, let's go to Jack. Jack is next up on PTL. Hey, Jack, you're on with David. Go right ahead.
Hey, Brian. Hey, listen, three names, a cuck coward, a racist, and straight up just disingenuous person. Brian, you pick which one and I'll let you know.
Those are names for me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I didn't like any of those. Yeah. Try again.
Okay. Well, can I just ask, when Brian brings up January 6th, why do you pivot to go to Black Lives Matter riots? I don't know. Do you think
aspects
Black
of
Lives Matter equals Democrats? Do you think
no.
Just because the people are black, they're Democrats? Is that why?
No.
Is that why you make the correlation? One was a political riot over a presidential not paying attention to who won the election and riling up a fan base to attack the Capitol. That's political. Everybody that was there were Republicans.
Correct.
And you want to pivot to Black Lives Matter. I mean, what does that have to do with? Were they all Democrats?
I think that's
Do
a
you
good
just
question.
Think that because they're all black?
David, I think that's a good question. In fact, there were right-wing white people that were arrested at some Black Lives Matter protests as well. But go ahead, David, and answer that, because I would ask you the same
Why
question.
I draw the parallels?
Yeah.
And let me rebut, Brian.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. The reason why I draw the parallels is because people suggest that January 6th was like the worst day ever in history, and they're suggesting that it was so violent and so bad and it was all Donald Trump's fault, when the behavior that you saw, I believe, on January 6th was really a continuation of the political violence of the political season, beginning with the George Floyd protests. Because what happened was political violence started becoming normalized when you saw cities burn and nothing happened to the people who were burning the cities down. And people
That's not true. There were thousands of people that were arrested across.
Yes, but there was very few. A lot of people were turned away. They didn't stop, and it seemed as if for periods of time the police, some cities, including in Minnesota. Where's Tim Walz from? Remind me, I'm having brain
Minnesota.
disease. Yeah, in Minnesota, they refused National Guard support to protect some of these buildings. So when they step back and they allow things to happen, or if you
Actually,
remember,
it was Donald Trump that actually praised Tim Walz for bringing the National Guard out there, and he's caught on video saying that Tim Walz did a great job.
But
so
then you also look at places, and then you got to look at the Antifa over in the West Coast. If you look at Seattle, they had those zones where they shut down and didn't let any police come in. There was people murdered in those places.
Okay, David, let me just hear me on this, okay? Two different, and I think this is to what Jack, I'll go right back to you in a second here, but what Jack is talking about, okay?
Yeah.
You had hundreds of thousands of people at January 6th. A couple thousand of them were committed some crimes, some horrible crimes. But they were there because they thought the election was stolen based on a false premise from Donald Trump. You had tens of millions. Okay, well, it was because Trump did not win the 2020 election, and it hasn't been proven. It has not been proven anywhere in a court of law, and Trump had opportunities, and he failed. But they were there based on a false premise that Trump won. Okay, you had tens of millions of people protesting across the country. A small percentage in Black Lives Matter protests for equality. I was one of them. You had a small percentage of horrible agitators that did some very bad things that nobody would condone that sort of violence.
Same thing at January 6th. It was the same thing at January 6th.
On what premise? Why were they there? They were there because they thought the election was stolen.
So this is why I draw the parallels, because everybody likes to excuse the bad behavior from the George Floyd riots or the Antifa protests.
Who's excusing it? Who's excusing it?
People are suggesting that they're mostly peaceful, and there was a couple of bad agitators.
Well, they were.
You just said it.
I didn't say a couple. I said there was a small percentage of people based on the tens of millions.
January 6th, there was also a small percentage.
And
of
I never said
violent.
I never said otherwise. I just said it. There were a couple 100,000 people that were protesting on January 6th. Of those people, a couple thousand of them did some horrible things. But the premise is different. Those people that were there on January 6th believed the big lie that the election was stolen, which it wasn't. It's a lie. And tens of millions of people were protesting Black Lives Matter protests because they wanted equality. And I think those
look, the protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, I think were also I think they lost focus of what they were actually protesting, because look, there was a police officer that exhibited excessive force, killed an individual, and was prosecuted for it and went to jail and was convicted. Burning down cities, I mean, that shows that the system works, right? He was arrested, he was prosecuted, he went to jail. So why do you burn down 5 different cities and murder people as a result? I understand people are upset that
I'm not defending any of the violence that took place. I'm just saying it's a false premised analogy
to burn down a city based on injustice that wasn't an injustice.
What do you mean it wasn't injustice?
Because the argument was that there was a disproportionate.
George Floyd was murdered.
Well, that's right, and somebody went to jail for it. But the idea behind it was that
black
people were disproportionately targeted by white cops, and as a result, they're burning down cities.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that as a whole in society, based on law enforcement, that black people are treated exactly the same as white people? Have you ever been pulled over because of the color of your skin, David? I have
been pulled over for a lot of reasons.
Have you ever been? That wasn't the question. Have you ever been pulled over because of the color of your skin? Tim Scott, a MAGA Republican, has said he's been pulled over dozens of times in his life because of the color of his skin. The reason why they're having these protests was not just because of George Floyd.
No,
I think because. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I think there is legitimacy to the suggestion that there is inherent bias sometimes in the way
certain police officers.
You don't think there is?
No, I said that I think there is.
Okay, so there you go. So we agree.
No,
Jack,
I think when certain people see certain people, they go, "Oh, that person looks suspicious. I'm going to investigate further." I disagree with that. Yeah.
If Trayvon Martin was white, he would still be alive.
I don't know, because look, the guy who shot him was Hispanic.
If Ahmaud Arbery was white, he would be alive today. And by the way, if 3 black people did to Ahmaud Arbery what those 3 white people did, those 3 black people would have been arrested that day. That's why we have something called systemic racism, and that is why
I don't think we have systemic racism. That's where I think we start going too far.
Failed Ahmaud Arbery's family. Did it not?
I don't know the specifics of that case. You have to
I'll tell you the
reflect my
specifics.
recollection.
The police officers told Ahmaud Arbery's mom that it was self-defense. The entire
Which case is
city.
this?
This is the black kid who was running and jogging down the street, and 3 white guys lynched him.
Oh, I remember that case.
And the only reason why, David, any arrests were made,
Yeah.
months later, the guy who recorded it gave his footage to a news station. If he didn't do that, there would have been no arrest made.
Right.
That is systemic racism. Why do I say that?
Okay, what is systemic racism? Can we define that at least?
A system in that city and in that precinct when it came to officers, politicians, and powerful people that swept that under the rug, knowing that a murder had been committed, but sweeping it under the rug. And I believe a part of the reason why that happened is because of the color of Ahmaud Arbery's skin. That if Ahmaud Arbery was white and those 3 men were black that killed him, those 3 men would have been arrested that day because they had the footage. They saw the footage. They saw Ahmaud Arbery lynched, and no arrests were made only because the media got on top of the story and they got a video of it.
But you suggest that's systemic racism, right?
Absolutely, in that city.
Okay,
absolutely.
Okay, but hang on then, because you always ask me to compare to apply the same standards to other facts.
Sure.
In New York City, there have been several instances of white old women being punched, literally knocked out by groups of black individuals.
Okay.
Is that systemic racism?
Were they arrested?
I don't know. I have never followed up with them.
See, I'm not, but here's the difference. I'm not talking about everyday citizens. I'm talking about law enforcement. The whole reason why Black Lives Matter protests started was because of the way certain members of law enforcement treat black individuals differently than white individuals.
But law enforcement is not made up of all white people, right?
I didn't say it was.
No, but I know, but it's an important point because it's too many times when we have these discussions, everything gets boiled down to race, and then the assumption becomes it's white versus anybody else who's not white. But that's not accurate. So the issue is, if the Black Lives Matter protesters, if they're one of their legitimate grievances was that policing is inherently racist, right? It's not because white police officers are racist against black people. It's because the policies that were developed in those I can't think right now.
Well, hold on. Let me give Jack just
I
one.
Forgot he's still there.
He's been waiting.
We're having all the fun, Jack. I apologize.
Sorry, Jack. Go ahead, Jack.
It's all right, man. The topic just, when people bring that up and then immediately pivot towards the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, you don't know what their political affiliation was. For people there. We know the people that were at the January 6th thing.
Correct.
So it's like a false equivalency. And when you hear somebody, a Republican, state that, these are the left or whatever, it just, to me, it seems like they just think that black people are Democrats. And they make that statement,
so right,
they don't understand that they sound so racist.
Jack is so
assuming.
No. Listen,
you're so right,
Jack.
Fair, I agree with you on that.
I do not. And I have never would make an assumption that black people are Democrats. I think a lot of people make that false assumption, but I don't necessarily characterize that as being.
Well, a lot of people characterize Black Lives Matter as the left, and I disagree with that. But let's move on.
I think it's because of the causes that they get involved in. It seems to be more leftist policies.
What a great wanting equality. If people want to associate the left with wanting equality, boy, that's a great quality to have.
The right wants equality too. The right, it's not a left versus right thing. This whole idea that the right is racist, that the right believes all these things, it's false. It's
the right want equality. Why don't they want gay people to marry each other?
Right. Donald Trump was the first president of the United States to support gay marriage.
I'm not talking about Donald Trump because he's a Democrat. Why is it that why is it that so many people on the right that are elected officials are against?
You're confusing the
Why did Donald
evangelical
Trump-
base of the Republican Party.
Why
as
did
being
Donald Trump?
synonymous with the Republican
Why did
Party.
Donald Trump rail against transgenders for 15 minutes over the weekend? Why did he do that?
Transgender? Okay, these are all complicated subjects, and your listeners are going to think I'm twisting into a pretzel. But I'm being careful not to generalize and talk specifics. Nobody, at least that I know, cares if you dress up, regardless of what you want your gender to be or however you feel like identifying. Nobody cares.
Nobody
I
cares.
don't care.
Oh, that's Nancy Mace.
That's well. Now you're getting into separate issues, right? You get into the bathroom issue.
No, it's all the issue.
No,
of
it's all. This is a good conversation. We can talk about it. The bathroom issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scope of transgendered people, right? And if you had somebody that appeared to be female, nobody would ask a question if she went and used the women's bathroom. Nobody would think twice about it. Now, if you're an individual who's 6 feet tall with a beard, wearing mostly what would be described as men's clothing, and maybe you put a skirt on, and you walk into the bathroom behind a small female child, that is going to make everybody nervous, despite how tolerant they're trying to be. And so when the only way to solve this problem with how do we keep it so
if something makes you feel nervous, you can go after an entire group of people like
I think if we're gonna have gender specific restrooms, and then you have people that don't fall into those specific genders because they're on a scope of gender, then we need to have either non-gender specific bathrooms or bathrooms specifically for people who don't fall into the two bathrooms.
So this is a very important policy discussion for MAGA Republicans, and Nancy Mace has tweeted about it 1,000 times in the last 3 weeks. But I notice it's nowhere near as important when we talk about gun control, when we talk about healthcare. There's no plan for healthcare. When we talk about gun control, well, we mental illness, but yet every single time Republicans sit at the table with Democrats to allocate money to help those that are mentally ill, they vote against it. You've got people like Rand Paul who vote against cancer research, but will tweet about transgenders in bathrooms. So, all right, let's take another call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Sherry. Sherry's next. What's up, Sherry?
Hi, I'm from Minneapolis, and I'm calling to address the riots and protests that occurred here. And I'm not sure that people seem to understand that the fires were started by the right wing, and those were Boogaloo Boys. They're all in prison for starting.
Some were. That's true. Sherry's right. Some were started by Boogaloo Boys, and there's evidence and proof of that. So I think we can all agree that, or at least I hope we can, that to label Black Lives Matter protest and those that were all arrested as lefty Democrats is not factually accurate.
I don't know what their political affiliations
in fact, the protests and the riots were in two separate parts.
But on the other hand, what we do know is all those that were prosecuted on January 6th, the majority of them, we learned based on their social media and the court cases, based on the court cases, and what we know about many of these people that were arrested is that they came from right-wing fringe groups.
The people that were arrested and prosecuted, there were also agitators at January 6th as well. People that were not arrested, people that some people believe were set there on purpose to ensure that there would be violence.
The Vivek Ramaswamis who say it was an inside job, which I absolutely think is absurd.
Like I said, wait till January 20th. And then let's start figuring out what exactly happened on January 6th, because I do believe that there were people that were there that were purposely inciting people. And I don't know if they're Democrat or Republicans, just like the Boogaloo Boys.
All I can go by is what we have to this point, and the evidence we have does not suggest
but
that.
we haven't had a fair opportunity to uncover that evidence, and I do believe information is coming.
Okay, well, I hear that about the 2020 election.
Again,
I hear that about January
we just
6th.
got the keys, man. Give us some chance to warm her up.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. Let's go to
see.
Darlene. Darlene is next on PTL. Hey, Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian and David. First of all, I want to say Merry Christmas to both of you.
Merry Christmas, and thank you for acknowledging that I'm here before you. What's that, ma'am?
David?
Yeah.
I'm going to put it to you blunt. You are scared of Donald Trump and the Republican Party, period. You are. Well, first of all, I don't know nothing about you. I don't know. They say you're a lawyer. I've never heard of you, but you're scared of them. And another thing, if Donald Trump loves women so damn much, give us our damn rights back. I want our rights back.
What rights are you missing?
I'm going to ask you.
Wait, what rights do you want? that you don't have.
What rights do I want?
Yes.
I think a woman, if she needs to get an abortion, that is her right.
Okay,
that is
pause.
not your
What
right
state
to
do you live
say.
in? What
Do
state do you live
agree
in?
with it or disagree with
What
it?
state do you live in? What state?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. What is the abortion law in
Yeah,
Oklahoma?
the red state.
What is the abortion
yeah,
law in Oklahoma?
yeah.
What is the abortion law? Hold on, I'll Google it. Abortion law.
Okay, David, come on.
Well,
Come
I would
on.
say that in
What's
almost.
your opinion about that?
Let me just emphasize: in almost half the states in this country, abortion is illegal, and in some of those states, no exceptions for rape or incest.
Oklahoma has the strictest abortion law in the United States, permitting the procedure only when necessary to save the life of a pregnant woman. There are no exceptions for cases of rape, incest, and several fetal abnormalities. Now, that's even more extreme than Florida's abortion ban.
Do you agree with that, David?
No, I think that goes too far. Personally, I believe that a woman probably should. My personal belief is that I think abortions are okay up until a certain point, and I think there should always be exceptions up to a certain point for rape, incest, and fetal abnormalities.
Reasonable. I think that's a Nikki Haley approach, which I actually agree with.
Yeah.
I think that women should have the right to do what they want with their own bodies. But
up to a certain point.
Up to a certain point,
Right.
Unless there's health reasons, of course. And,
You should never. A woman should never have to choose, or family, I should
and
say.
that's
not just
where
a woman.
Darlene's frustration lies.
Well,
within,
but understand that Donald Trump didn't take those rights away. The United States Supreme Court in the Dobbs decision said that's a states' rights issue. Oklahoma is the state that took that right away. And if you have an issue, you got to take it up with your legislature in Oklahoma.
I respectfully disagree with you. Technically, Donald Trump didn't. However, Donald Trump put conservative justices.
Right, but he doesn't make their mind up for him. How many? Listen,
Donald Trump. You're telling me that when he put these people in that position, you didn't think he knew it? He brags about it. He brags about Roe versus Wade being overturned.
I think the Dobbs decision is the correct decision.
Donald Trump absolutely knew what he was doing. He knew that these people put in Supreme Court justice positions. Why? Because he brags about it.
No,
and
but I don't think that's true, Brian, because Supreme Courts historically, and I know this for a fact, Supreme Courts historically disappoint the people who put him on the bench.
He says, quote,
John Roberts is a perfect example on the healthcare.
We helped overturn Roe versus Wade. I wonder how many abortions Donald Trump has been a part of in his life. All right, let's take some more calls. Yeah. We have a MAGA caller, about 702-221.
No way.
702-221-7283. One phone line open. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb.
I'm a MAGA, and I'm proud of it.
Wow.
I remember that, Brian, every time you call me a MAGA.
Trust me, I don't. Trust me, I won't forget it.
Somehow you got past the call screener.
You're doing a great job sparring with Brian, because you giving him right hooks and left hooks, and he can't handle it. But listen,
well, we have Stevie Wonder judging this boxing fight. But go ahead,
I'm
Stevie
dodging
Wonder.
more than I'm swinging, to be honest with you, my friend.
Go ahead, Stevie Wonder. Go ahead, judging the fight, Stevie Wonder. Go ahead.
Brian, you got a problem with Trump going into the dressing room with these underage pageant girls.
I do. Yeah.
No, you don't have a problem. You don't have a problem with Nancy Mace complaining about a transgender woman.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
So you are comparing, which is unbelievable. I'm so glad you brought this up. Herb is comparing a guy without permission going into a dressing room with girls naked that are underage to a transgender woman going into a stall and going number one or number two. Herb, are you not Herb? Even David's laughing at this.
I'm laughing because you said number one or number two.
Herb, are you not smart enough, Herb, to distinguish going into a locker room where girls are naked and a man sexualizing it and bragging about it on the Howard Stern show when he knows he shouldn't be in there, to a transgender woman going in there to use a restroom?
Can I defend Herb for a second here?
I mean,
his point has validity.
I don't think it has any.
No, it does. Because what he's referring, what at least with Nancy Mace is trying to prevent, is the women who were in that dressing room, or in that dressing room that you're suggesting that were made uncomfortable because Donald Trump didn't have permission to be in there. Think about how uncomfortable a woman might feel if somebody who appears to be male, regardless of what they identify as, walks into a place where they're also vulnerable.
Let me be very clear on something.
Yeah.
If a transgender woman went into a restroom,
yeah,
and objective and said it on a radio show was to see a bunch of teenage girls naked, and that was their objective, to go into a women's restroom, then I would have just as much a problem of what Donald Trump did. But when you speak to many transgenders out there, like the colleague who works with Nancy Mace, she's not going into that restroom to sexualize Nancy Mace and talk about it on a radio show. When Donald Trump, make no mistake about it, Herb, went into those locker rooms, he said it on the Howard Stern show, he sexualized it. Beautiful women, they're naked, they're changing. And I was the owner. And he said, they let me do it. No, they didn't. Many of those women did not give Donald Trump permission to do so. You are trying to compare something, apples and oranges, to a transgender woman in most cases that goes in there to do her business and leaves and is not going in there for sexual reasons, to a disgusting man and a liable sexual abuser who can't be faithful to one woman, who bragged on the Howard Stern show about seeing a bunch of 15 and 16-year-old girls naked and gloating and bragging about it. Herb, with all due respect, there is absolutely no comparison between the two, and you are a moron to try to make that analogy.
I don't like a woman going into a men's room.
I didn't.
I don't
it's
like
not
a
about
man going into a woman's
guess
room.
what? There's a
And
lot
one
of
more
things.
thing,
Hey,
Brian,
Herb.
this
No,
question.
wait. No, you're gonna wait now. I don't like Donald Trump winning the election, but guess what? Sometimes in life we deal with things that we don't like. If it bothers you that much that a transgender man would go into a men's restroom, and by the way, has that ever even happened to you in your life? Have you been affected by trans people going into restrooms, Herb? Have you ever looked around in a bathroom? Oh, I think that's a transgender man. He's or she's making me feel very uncomfortable. Herb, has that ever happened to you in your life? Be honest.
I will be honest. I'll be honest. I was in a bathroom. And a woman who wanted to be a man came into the men's bathroom. Now, it didn't bother me. I wasn't afraid.
It didn't bother you.
I sure didn't like it.
Okay.
I sure didn't like it.
And why didn't you just use the restroom?
It's not a matter of an adult. It's a matter of kids. I know a situation where a young kid went into a men's bathroom. He was about 13 years old, and he saw transgender in there. And it was very upsetting to him. He didn't know how to explain it.
He didn't. Was that your kid, or is that your kid, or
was not your friend? Not my child. It was not my child.
So you guys had so you guys had a conversation after he left the restroom, and you know exactly how he felt. Is that what you're saying? You've already admitted that it hasn't affected you and it doesn't bother you. Yet you call into a radio station and try to compare Donald Trump going into a restroom, Donald Trump going into a pageant locker room with teenage girls and sexualizing it, to randomly somebody going into a restroom to do their thing and leave. Herb, with all due respect, there is absolutely no comparison between the two. It's a horrible analogy you made. Guess what? I don't like Donald Trump being elected. I don't like the people that he has put in his administration. I don't like a lot of people that support Donald Trump, but I live with it. In life, sometimes we do things that guess what? I don't like extreme religious people, but if they want to be religious and believe in the tooth fairy, they have the right to do so. Okay. Sometimes in life, we shouldn't go after an entire group of people because we might not like or understand something. Herb, does that not make sense to you, Herb? Am I not making sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, Brian, but let me explain my point. My point is this. My point is that it can be, we don't want our kids going into a restroom and seeing some transgender in there with them.
Why is that?
Even though
why is that?
They may not want to.
So can I ask you a question, Herb? May I ask you a question, Herb? But we have no problem with kids going to churches. Children going to churches. How many? No. There's a reason why I bring this up. Thousands of kids have been sexually molested from the clergy. Do you tell people not to go to church and bring their kids to church?
Brian,
don't Brian me. Answer the question.
I'll answer the question if you shut up.
Go
There's
answer.
There's a lot of kids that go into Little League Baseball, and the coaches have molested them. Does that mean that we stop Little League Baseball?
You're making my point for me. By the way, excuse me. Now you're going to shut up. Now you're going to shut up. You're making my point for me. There is no, and I notice how you dodged the question about churches, because there's a hell of a lot more clergies that have molested children from the churches than coaches on baseball teams. Okay. You made my point for me. And the point is this: there is zero evidence to suggest that transgenders going into restrooms have a higher percentage of committing sexual violence or any type of violence than anybody born a man or a woman. Zero evidence to back it up. But there's a lot of evidence to show that kids have a far better chance of being molested going into a church than they do going into a restroom with a transgender. Have a nice day, Herb. All right, David. Sorry, you weren't a big part of that conversation, but I had
I appreciate Herb calling. It was a break for me.
So do I. He makes it very entertaining for me.
No, though I want to bring up a counterpoint though to yours. Sure. And I understand the point you're making at is people are worried about their kids getting molested in a bathroom. Right. I'm suggesting if you are transgendered and you what is the barrier for you using the bathroom of your biological sex though? What is the issue with that? That's what I don't understand. Like if you're a female, right, and you want to use the female's restroom and you're in a stall, but you're dressing as a male, why not? I mean, it's the same response, right? Like, I don't understand what the issue is, the biological. If the bathrooms are labeled biologically, men, women, and not having, look, and I don't understand why we just don't, you can just have single bathrooms. And if it's a group bathroom, have one for people who are not, you don't want to specify a gender, but both on them.
Well, listen, I don't think this is a very important issue. I think there are far more important issues that Americans are facing than whether a transgender. Now, people like Nancy Mace and those in the culture wars that talk about these topics 24/7 care more about this than all the gun violence in this country or the healthcare problems that we have in this country, so on and so forth. Nancy Mace is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. She tweets 1,000 times in 2 weeks about how she's so proud of herself because a transgender colleague can't use the same restroom she uses. But yet after a school shooting, thoughts and prayers. It's a joke. But anyway, let's take some more calls. Sure. There's more coming in, David, if you're willing to stick around.
Yeah, I got some more time.
Yeah, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Sarah. Sarah's next. What's up, Sarah?
Sarah's here.
Wait, this isn't the Sarah from before, is it?
No, this is Sarah. This is a different caller. Go ahead, Sarah.
This is Sarah from Kansas.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Sarah.
And yes, I voted for her rights. So I know George Floyd's on my talking points, but I mainly wanted to bring up that, I have what they call Obamacare. And I had cancer in 2022. I beat it, thank God.
Congratulations.
But I paid $17,000 out of pocket. So for me, the concepts of a plan doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm afraid that they're going to take my health care. And even though I beat cancer, there's many of us out there. And I still have to see the doctors for 5 more years before they completely clear me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my question is why is everybody wrong? And Trump's always the victim, but we're sitting here, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very
waiting for this.
By the way, I'm very glad that you've beaten cancer. And I'm so sorry that you've had to go through this. David, go ahead and respond.
Yeah, well, to be clear, so are you saying you're satisfied with the Obamacare that you have? The policy under the Affordable Care Act?
It's quite expensive, actually, but
right. That was my understanding of it.
We're a higher tier.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was employed with a job that I had with regular, whatever, your job gives you health care, right?
Right. Yeah.
I was paying about the same amount of money.
Right. And that's people's criticism of Obamacare is that the deductibles are so high. Using the insurance is almost unaffordable for normal things. Now, of course, for catastrophic issues such as yours, and now you've had pre-existing illness, which, by the way, is something that I think all Republicans and Democrats agree that there has to be something for people with pre-existing illnesses that are unable to get health care. But the deductibles are the issue. That was the main issue with Obamacare.
And I'm not going to dispute that, but it goes back to what I said earlier. Donald Trump railed on transgenders for 15 minutes over the weekend. Didn't really talk about healthcare, did he? He did talk about cancer in children, but yet guys like Rand Paul vote against bills that will put $200 million towards children's cancer research. The point I'm trying to make is this is not a serious policymaking party when they want to talk about transgenders like Donald Trump did over the weekend. But when talking about these kinds of issues, he has concepts of a plan. The guy's had 9 years to come up with a replacement plan. All he has to do is sit down with his advisors, come up with a plan for a couple. He's got no plan. So that's my criticism, David. But we do have another Trump caller. Would you like to take another Trump caller?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
All right, 702-221-7283. Again, 702-221-7283. We have David Pollock on from the David Pollock podcast, conservative Republican, Trump supporter. I think that's very fair to say. All right, let's go 100%. To Patrick. Patrick is next on PTL. Hello, Patrick.
Merry Christmas, guys. Hey, Brian, I've heard you say many times on your show that the Ashley Biden diary has not been confirmed or validated, and
no, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Well,
I need to. No. Patrick, stay on the line. I'm going to speak slowly and distinctly for you. I never.
Why would you let me finish my statement?
Because you just said something to start your statement, like you always do, which is not true, mischaracterizing what I said. So listen, and then I'll let you finish. Okay? I never said the diary wasn't confirmed. What I did say was the page in the diary where she claims in the diary that she showered with her father has not been confirmed. She never confirmed she said that. She never confirmed it. Joe Biden never confirmed it. And this diary was in the hands of several right-wing nut jobs, including a guy by the name of Mr. O'Keefe, who is a right-wing nut. That page in the diary has never been confirmed by Joe Biden's daughter. I never said the diary wasn't confirmed. Of course, there was a diary because she asked for it back and the authorities got involved. But inside that diary,
that page is so damning that you want to blame James O'Keefe for writing it.
What you're not listening to me.
That's hilarious. You're a conspiracy theorist.
I'm a conspiracy.
You are.
Okay.
You've turned into a conspiracy theorist, Brian.
Okay. First of all, how old was she? Did she say how old she was in that diary? Did she say how old she was during those showering?
She did say that she probably was sexually assaulted.
She did not say she was sexually assaulted, and you're an idiot because you're making things up and you won't answer my question. So I'll ask it again. Did she say how old she was?
She said that she felt she was sexually assaulted.
She never said that. All right, pot him down. See, David, I'm glad you're listening to this idiot because he's lying. He's either extremely ill-informed and stupid or lying intentionally. I'm going to guess probably both. David, I would hope that you would agree with me. She never said she was sexually assaulted. In that page that has never been confirmed by Joe Biden's daughter, and that's very important to note, she said could be conceived as borderline inappropriate. That does not mean she was sexually assaulted. But Patrick calls into this show making gross assumptions, and I say again, the diary was real. The contents in that diary, including that page that Patrick is talking about, has never been confirmed or spoken about by Joe Biden's daughter, and the diary was in the hands of multiple people during that time. Is there anything I've said, David, that you would disagree with?
The only thing I would say is in the defense of the caller was, I think maybe he's welcome to interpret that, if true, as being sexual abuse. But no, I'm not aware that she claimed that she was sexually abused.
Patrick, is there anything else idiotic that you'd like to bring up in this phone call?
Oh, I just want you to clarify. You think that
you want me to clarify?
Input a new page and doctored her handwriting and everything.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Okay. I'll repeat myself.
Is that what you're saying?
I'll repeat myself one more time so somebody that is very slow like you hopefully could understand. The diary has been confirmed. The page in the diary that you are referring to, where she claims not that she was sexually assaulted, that wasn't even on that page. You're making that up. Mm-hmm. That's your own interpretation. Okay. Has not been confirmed by Joe Biden's daughter. We also don't know how old she was. And I can tell you there are many fathers that I know with a 1-year-old daughter, maybe giving them a bath, maybe showering with them, that I think a lot of people based on the age would say is not inappropriate. But she never even said how old she was. Hold on, let me finish. For all we know, she could have been 6 months old. There's that Tucker Carlson feminine laugh, you jackass. Get off my show. 702-221-7283.
You know, you're much meaner to the people on than I am. So, like when your callers call and call me clowns, I'm so nice to them. Maybe I need to be meaner. Can I say you're a clown? Get off the show.
Here's the thing though. if somebody says something about, Donald Trump that's not true, or a MAGA Republican that's not true, then I'll correct the record. But Patrick just called in, claimed that Joe Biden's daughter said that she was sexually assaulted, which is a blatant lie. David, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
A 6-month-old or a 1-year-old that is showering with a father.
Well, let me tell you, if you have a 6-month-old,
is that inappropriate?
Well, look, I don't like to talk about my kids on air. I would never, at any age, shower with any of my children.
But I don't consider.
But I'm not saying other people. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But
that's
if you're,
you.
If you're 6 months old, you're not standing. You're still.
Okay. Well,
so you're not going to stick like a kid in a shower.
Right. But the point I'm trying to make, and you're smart enough to understand this. Certainly, Patrick is not. Is that if you're 1-year-old or 2-year-old, that doesn't.
No,
that
look,
doesn't,
I'm gonna have to say, like, I would never think it's appropriate at any age to shower with a female daughter if you're a male. I mean, I wouldn't even shower with a male son. I wouldn't shower with my children in general.
So that's your choice, and maybe we're getting into the weeds. But Patrick doesn't seem to understand that that's never been verified. Joe Biden's daughter never on the record has admitted to saying that. She never said she was sexually assaulted, and Patrick is a moron. At least we can verify that in my diary. 702-221-7283. Who are we going to next? Let's go to Edward. Edward is next on PTL. What's up, Edward?
Stop helping on the back end. You just piss off your baseliner.
What? What did he say? Is he still on the line? Thank you for the call. That's the best call we've had all day. 702.
What the hell was that?
I have no idea what he said. I'll have to go back and listen to it. Let's go to Marion. Marion is next up on PTL. What's up, Marion?
Hey, how you doing there?
There you go. What's going on, Marion?
Hey, Merry Christmas to both of you.
Thank you.
Hey, real quick, I want to talk about a couple things, if that's okay. First, I want to talk about the Gaetz, Matt Gaetz, if that's okay.
Sure. Yes, let's get back on the topic.
Speaking of sexual abuse, go ahead.
No.
One of the things that I've got a question about. Okay, it was documented that one of the people that testified to Congress, she said she brought the 17-year-old girl to the party with her.
Right.
So my question is this: everyone is talking about Matt Gaetz having sex with this 17-year-old girl. Shouldn't the question be, who is the adult that brought the 17-year-old girl to this party that knew that there would be drugs and sex at this party? And isn't anyone concerned about who is actually trafficking this 17-year-old girl, and how long has she been doing it? That should be the question.
Well,
I think we should be going after.
I'll let David.
That brought this child.
Well, I'll let David respond to that. I think that's also a fair point. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. Look, again, anything in the House Ethics Report, I give very little credibility to, only because it's a political document that was created, in my opinion, to hurt Matt Gaetz politically. So he hasn't had a chance to legitimately defend anything in there. But yeah, I mean, in a hypothetical sense of the word, why would somebody be bringing a 17-year-old to a party like that? I don't know. Yeah. But I don't know. But I mean, now we're getting into a hypothetical. No, it wouldn't be inappropriate to bring.
Yeah,
but
I think that's a fair question to ask. But I would also.
But I think the allegation wasn't that she was brought to. I think the allegation was that this individual was paid for services of some sort.
Right. Venmo, Mr. Venmo, Matt Gaetz, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Shelly. Shelly's next. What's up, Shelly?
Hey, Brian. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
David.
I knew. Every time they don't say hi to me, I know they're going to hate me. Go ahead.
No, I don't hate anyone.
I do.
You're wrong.
I do. His name is Orange Turd, but go ahead.
Well, okay, we can agree on that one. Let's play a game.
Okay.
But for Donald Trump.
Ooh, it started with but for.
Let
me tell you how.
January 6th have happened.
January 6th have happened, but for no. Because January 6th was related to the election.
Yeah, right? I'll even take it a step further, my dear. David, if Donald Trump didn't say months before January 6th that the election was stolen and that the Democrats
January happened, you know, it's hard to say, because on January 6th, no, listen.
Come on, dude. You got to stop.
Let him answer. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So January 6th, there was planned protests that were not at the Capitol.
Yeah, Antifa.
No. I'm not making those excuses at this moment. Those I use for Brian when he asks me to make excuses. So that's when I go to Antifa. No, what I'm suggesting is there were protests planned that Donald Trump was going to speak at, the Stop the Steal type, the protest. Now, January 6th, to what everybody referring to January 6th, that was the same day, obviously. But the part that people refer to as January 6th was the violence that happened at the Capitol. That was separate from where Donald Trump was speaking. There were two different things. Donald Trump instructed them to peacefully assemble and make your voices heard.
Down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol.
But if your question is, would people have protested on January 6th, but for Donald Trump? No, that's why they were there. They were there.
Well, I can make it easy.
Trump.
Hold on.
I can violent though. I don't blame Donald Trump for the violence.
I can make this really easy. Yeah. In the next 4 hours, when the insurrection started, or wherever you want to call it, violent mob, whatever, riot, are you comfortable with Donald Trump for 4 hours sitting on his ass doing nothing when he was begged by people around him to put out a video? It took him 4 hours to do anything. Are you comfortable with that, or isn't that dereliction of duty?
No, it wasn't 4 hours. He has
3 and a half.
He tweeted that he told everybody to be peaceful, and then he said, "Everybody go home." He did but it's
3.5 hours.
But the problem is, but the thing is, and this is where a lot of people use that as a gotcha, suggesting that somehow Donald Trump had any control over what was happening at the Capitol.
When you are the president of it. Let me give you an example. If something like that even close happened under Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or whoever, even close to that, and there was some violence, I guarantee you, with a capital G, within a half an hour, they would immediately put out a video or hold a press conference and say,
but Donald Trump wasn't in control of those people. They weren't under Donald Trump's control.
It's not about whether he can control. It's about the leader, a real leader, unlike Donald Trump, to put out a video to say, go home. And by the way, after he put out that video, they watched what he said and they left. So the insinuation.
There was also a lot of, look, a lot happened on January 6th, for example. And I know lots of people who walked up to open doors in a building and literally just walked in, knowing.
I'm talking about Donald Trump now putting out a video in 3.5 hours, and you're trying to defend it by saying.
No, what I'm saying is you're suggesting that they went home, because I think a lot of people went home because everything had happened had already happened.
Still put out a video within an hour.
I don't think Donald Trump even understood what was going on.
Oh, come on.
I'm telling you. Do you remember January 6th? Do you remember?
He was watching it on TV, and then Melania Trump was asked to put out a video by Stephanie Grisham, and we saw the text, and she refused to put out a video because she's a horrible human being, just like Donald Trump. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation.
I got about 2 more minutes.
Oh, is that all you got?
Yeah.
Okay, we got to get through some quick ones here. Let's go to Susan. Susan, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah, go right ahead. We've got about a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah, I just want to say Merry Christmas to you guys first.
Merry Christmas.
And talking about Obamacare, I got to tell you something. I get so fed up with the Republicans always wanting to bash Obamacare. I've been selling it for going on 12 years.
Yeah.
I deal with hundreds of people that are on this thing. And if they didn't have it, they would have no insurance. And just imagine that.
Well, that's correct. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Donald Trump has a concept of a plan.
Yeah.
He needs to shut his big mouth because he's an idiot. He doesn't have a concept of anything.
You're right.
And David, I don't understand how you defend that man. I don't understand how you Republicans, no matter what anyone says about the truth of things that he's done and said, which are horrific. He's a 34-count convicted felon. He's a sexual abuser.
He's not a convicted felon.
Yes, he is a convicted felon in the court of law by a jury. I hate to tell you.
A jury.
He hasn't been convicted yet. That's the only reason why he ran.
He's not a convicted felon.
You know why he ran for president again? He ran for president
to stay out of jail.
He can win. Yeah. So he doesn't have to face the music with all of it.
A jury found him guilty on 34 felony counts. We can get into the weeds and whether that's a conviction or not.
Recommended he would be found guilty. Yes,
but we all know that if Donald Trump didn't win re-election, he would. The there would have already been a sentencing anyway.
Well, I don't think that case should ever been brought. And if Donald
Well,
Trump wasn't who he is, it never would have been brought. But
that's your opinion.
let's talk about the healthcare thing, because I think we can hit relatively quickly, and I think it's an important one, because healthcare is vital to a lot of people. Healthcare is very expensive in the United States. A lot of people don't have access to it, and the focus of Obamacare was to, because before Obamacare, I think we all can even admit, Democrats, Republicans, healthcare, the problem with healthcare was not everybody could get it. If you had pre-existing illnesses, if you didn't have money to afford the health coverage, I mean, you could get a catastrophic plan, but it was very expensive. It didn't cover anything. So Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was, the left had always dreamed of creating a government option to healthcare. They never quite got it. They got close to it with the Affordable Care Act. So that's important to just put on the record. That being said, the Affordable Care Act, when it put it, the effect of it didn't actually solve all of the problems that people had with healthcare. Yes, it provided the availability for people to obtain healthcare, and actually required it by law until that was struck down, which became quite a burden on people who couldn't even afford to get the Obamacare. So that being said, Obamacare was or the Affordable Care Act, however you want to call it, it was the two main things that it needed to do was, one, provide coverage for people with pre-existing illnesses because they couldn't get coverage otherwise, and two, provide people who was unable to afford insurance that didn't qualify for Medicaid the ability to obtain health care. Now, Obamacare does that, but it doesn't do it in a way that actually makes it beneficial for those groups of people because of the incredible
deal, right? Republicans and Democrats, David, have this conversation together. I have no problem with it. People have some issues with Obamacare, no problem. The problem that you know what I'm going to say. The problem I have are the people that you voted for, like Donald Trump, who bitch and moan about Obamacare, but literally have no replacement plan. That's
I think they do, though. No, they have a framework, though. And this is the thing. There's a framework.
It's been 9 years. Where's the framework?
Well, I'll tell you what the framework look, the framework entails several things. And look, and I think you would agree. And obviously, repealing.
Where is it? Where can I see this plan? How do you know? Where is it?
I've been doing research over the last half an hour of the bits and pieces of it to try to formulate what I think is the framework. Now, as far as replacing ACA, I don't see a clear replacement of what that would look like. So let's just put that aside for a second. However, market competition, I agree that that's a lacking element. Pre-existing conditions, Trump has said he supports protecting individuals with pre-existing conditions. That's important, right? Because I think we can agree that's important. Lowering prescription drug prices, that's important.
But the premise of your argument is that you think you know what the framework is, and when Donald Trump is asked about it in an interview a few weeks ago on a debate stage, he doesn't give any framework. He says he has concepts of a plan.
Right.
And I appreciate you saying what you think the Republicans might do, but the reality of the situation is Trump has not given out any information on what the framework
I remember Kamala Harris's entire campaign was the policies will be on the website soon enough. I think give Donald Trump the opportunity to propose a plan, and let's see what Congress does with it.
He's had the opportunity to propose a plan for 9 years.
It's not just going to be Trump. This is the thing. Trump is not going to sit, and I think this makes people happy, actually. This will make you happy. Trump is not going to sit in one of the wings of Mar-a-Lago and have his pen and paper and go, here is the plan for healthcare. No, he's going to bring a bunch of advisors around him.
Why hasn't he done this before?
I'm sure they're doing it, though. He just doesn't.
Why didn't they do it in his first administration? Give me the reason why.
They tried to do it in the first administration.
And in 9 years, they couldn't come up with anything.
John McCain. It was just thumbs down, or else we would have replaced it.
When in the last 4 years, when he hasn't been president,
right?
He's had the opportunity to sit down with people.
He was trying to stay out of jail in the last 4 years, other than come up with a healthcare plan.
All right. Well, hey, I respectfully disagree with that assessment, but David, I know you got to run.
You have take family to dinner. It's Christmas Eve.
Happy Merry Christmas to you. I appreciate you giving us the time. I know that. Even though some of the listeners are frustrated, I think it's good to have people call in and vent, and you go back and forth with them.
Listen, I like to hear. I don't like echo chambers. I want to hear what other people have to say.
The phone lines are full, so which means they'll probably be full next time you come on.
I know. Well, I'll do this again. I don't mind. Okay, I know some people get upset. And I know some people will probably be mad at me that it wasn't harder on you or the callers. It's just, look, I got into this business, and I've told you this. I got into this business to have communications with people. When I ran for a nonpartisan office in 2020, I started having conversations, and they're like, well, how do you feel about Trump? And I would tell them, and they'd be like, I'm not talking to you anymore. So you don't even want to have a conversation. So I got into this business with the idea of being able to have conversations with people that I disagree with. And there's a lot of emotion. I try to avoid the emotional arguments.
I also don't speak on things that
Yeah.
I don't have
I
information
don't always
on.
do a good job of that.
Well, but you have a radio
fun
show and it gets good ratings. So obviously people like when you get upset.
Well, that's true. They do like it when I turn red. David, in
Yeah.
all seriousness, I do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And taking the shots. And
It's fun.
taking
I
calls.
really don't mind it. I appreciate your listeners calling. I appreciate them being engaged.
And I hope you have a great Christmas to you and your,
too, my
your
friend.
beautiful family. And we'll talk to you soon. And I know we'll do it again soon, David. Have a great Christmas. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on. Merry Christmas, everybody, and happy Hanukkah to my Jewish brothers out there, brothers and sisters. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate it. I know we have some more people waiting on hold, so I'm going to try to get through these calls as fast as I can. Let's go to Al. Al is next up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It is Al that is next up on PTL. Al, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, my friend?
Yeah, very quickly. I think David did a really good job. I think he represented the Republicans fairly well. There's a few issues, that I don't agree. But I want to tell you something. I do love you, Brian. But I am very concerned about something you said. We've had some arguments, but it's the reason for the season. And I really care about you, but I'm very concerned about you going around saying that the Bible is just a book and that you're not concerned about somebody who will put something in a book.
I don't care
We're
about
all
the Bible.
sinners.
No.
I know you believe in God.
Don't care.
Hold on, let me finish. Okay, and I think a lot of your listeners believe in God. That's what I want to say.
Okay, so
They
I
believe in the Bible.
don't live my life based on a book. I live my life based on the values and the way my family brought me up. If you want to live your life based on a book, you're more than happy to do so. I'm not an extremely religious person, and I don't know why you would be concerned. Or I can go back and I can say this, Al, I'm really concerned about you because you live your life based on a Bible, but I'm not being genuine when I say that because I don't care. If you want to live your life based on a book that somebody wrote, okay, then you have the right to do that. But why would you be concerned with me? Because I don't have the same religious beliefs as you. I find that to be very
let me
judgmental.
tell you why. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why really quick. Because Christians believe we live in a fallen world.
I'm not Christian. I
and
don't
we
care
try
what
to do-
Christians believe. I'm not a Christian.
Fine. That's fine. But let me just tell you what we believe and how we respect you. Okay.
Yeah.
You may not respect
Yeah,
us,
Christians really
but we
respect people.
You may
All
not
right,
respect
let's
our
talk-
lifestyle, but we respect your
Yeah,
lifestyle.
okay, let's go about that. How many right-wing radical Christians respect the lifestyle of somebody who's a homosexual? Let's go with
Well,
your
let me
argument.
put it to you this way.
No, don't
I
put it.
understand that, but let me tell you, we're all sinners. None of us are perfect.
I'm
okay?
asking you a
There are
question. You're not
how many
answering.
Christians? Okay, no, I understand that. I'm telling you, there's some people that are hypocrites. I'm not going to lie to you. Look at the guy who had everybody drink the
Yeah,
Kool-Aid
like Donald Trump.
in the name of God.
Is Donald Trump a
Okay,
hypocrite
so-
when he cheats on every single woman he's ever had? Is Donald Trump a hypocrite?
If he took an oath and that he would not, in that case, I guess he would be. Yes.
Okay, good. We're getting somewhere. Okay, let's go back to your
Okay.
Christian statement that you made. You said Christians respect me, and okay. Do Christians respect people who are gay as a whole, or do they call them sinners? If you want to talk about respect, I'm happy to have that conversation.
No, I don't think we call them. I don't think we call them sinners. Not all of us.
almost
some
every-
of us, some Christians, they go, hey, listen, we listen. Yeah, because you know what? And if you're a true Christian, you have to accept that we live in a fallen world and there's evil people.
Okay, I agree.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree. But sadly,
now-
Al,
or-
you
but
might.
We're not going to call them evil.
So, Al-
There's everything under the sun down here.
Al,
okay, so
you might.
I think a lot of Christians will accept that you're gay.
Okay, so I don't know what
Not
a lot
all,
is.
but I think
okay,
not
so-
all, but I
so-
think a lot. Yeah, go
so
ahead.
not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm a straight middle-aged man, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being gay. But I have a problem with anybody who judges people because of sexuality. And I'm telling you, people who judge people based on sexuality are not people on the left. They are people on the right, and they are called right-wing evangelicals. And I appreciate the call. So I know that we have a lot of other people on hold. And I know some local talk show hosts lie about that, but I actually do have full phone lines throughout the entire show, and I'm very appreciative to all of you. I also want to thank Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Check them out. The Pass the Puck contest where you can earn up to $500 in free slot play. Mondays and Wednesdays. Tomorrow's Christmas, and it's Wednesday. You can earn a free bottle of wine if you earn 300 points. I love Jackson's Bar and Grill. They're the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show. Please check them out. And also my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. If you really enjoy what I do, then please check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. It is Christmas if you'd like to give me a Christmas gift. We are an independently owned show. So you go on pushingthelimits.live. We do sell merchandise on there, but if you don't want to buy merchandise, you can make a donation. Doesn't matter what it is, $5, $10, $20 a month. So I have enough money to buy those Trump Bibles. I need to buy Trump Bibles for all my family. Check it out. pushingthelimits.live. And in all seriousness, it helps us, keeps the lights on here. And we appreciate your support of the show. Pushingthelimits.live. Somebody said I need a 3-hour show. No, I can't do that. Mentally, it would be exhausting. Maybe some point in the future, in 2025, there's a lot of cool things coming for this radio show. I'm not sure that will be one of them. I also want to say this. I am very, very, very appreciative of all of you. I'm so happy and blessed, and I work with some great people here at KSHP. I'm very appreciative of them. I get to do a show every day. And where this show has gone in the last couple of years, I'm so grateful with the listenership and so many people that have their eyes on this show every day. I don't take that for granted, and I just want to let you guys know, even those that disagree with me, even those that talk crap about me, you watch the show, you comment about me, it's good for the show, and I appreciate all of you for your viewership and supporting what I do, and I'm very grateful for that. So tomorrow, obviously, is Christmas, and we're going to take tomorrow off. I will be back live on Thursday. So tomorrow, we're not doing a YouTube show. We're taking the day off. It's Christmas, but we will be back on Thursday with some very special guests. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate David Pollock. Add me to YouTube. Subscribe at PTL Radio Show. And check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Merry Christmas, everybody. We will see you Thursday.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true